DBJ here, Brian here to give you some of my insights. And today we're going to talk about one of the most misunderstood, overused, misplayed, misrun spells I have ever seen. Detect Evil. We're going to bring back the magic of one of the most classic spells ever, Detect Evil. Okay, now of course, getting a Pathfinder is divided into 4 functions: detect good, evil, law, and chaos. We're going to stick with the classic Detect Evil, but this can apply to all of those others. How do you use it in the game and its function? Now, I'm going to dispel a myth, and I challenge anybody to look this up. The only one I know of how this works is in Pathfinder, but you can look this up in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 3.5, 4, and 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. But I challenge you to discover this on your own. In Pathfinder, Detect Evil does not work on creatures less than 4 hit dice. Now, I could be wrong, but I just looked it up. There's a chart that says Detect Evil. Detect Evil does not work on creatures less than 4 hit dice, which means that ultimately Detect Evil does not work on any commoner. That's like 99% of the humans and others living in most of the major cities in medieval worlds, in Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder. And it means that most of the hordes of evil, the goblinoids, all the goblins, hobgoblins, orcs, ogres, bugbears, do not show up under Detect Evil. Now, I want to see lots of comments on this and, call me an a-hole on this, but that pretty much means that as a paladin, when you walk into that CD bar, nothing's gonna go off in your head. All right, now I'm gonna get off of that point because I really want to talk about the specific spell and how you use it. All right, or how you can use it and great ways to use it. Now, one idea of Detect Evil is this idea of passive detection, and this essence could be used with the Detect Magic. I'll probably do a video on that too. But Detect Evil passively, and this is a great way for the game master to use it as a method to alert the players to a situation where there really isn't any physical evidence for them to understand what's going on. So players enter into a cave or an abandoned mine, or it's a castle or something of the nature, and the game master now has the ability, dungeon master can say, hey, listen, you enter in this room and you sense a great evil taking place, and as they encounter, they see a stone altar with dried blood, and maybe an old ritual took place, and this can alert the players that as they start maybe disturbing things, the evil starts getting stronger. Maybe they're accidentally summoning something, or breaking an ancient rite was disturbed, and maybe somehow they accidentally finished the last methods of creating that ancient rite that summons a great evil. Or as they move around the keep that's old and ancient, a great evil knows that it's being disturbed, especially with good characters, and this evil is coming here from far away, coming towards them. This is a great way to bring across a way to move your players forward. Hey, you need to get the hell up out of here. It's a great way to add a little extra description. Yes, the place is dark and damp and everything, but on top of it, there's something that puts a chill into your spine. And lastly, it could also act as kind of a danger sense if you want to as a game master. And I use it as a danger sense because it sucks as a player to just be like sniped on and killed from behind when no one's there. If you have your players, you're like, well, I want this big baddie to show up with his army. This is a great way for me to have them prepared to fight a great evil, but they have no quote-unquote physical knowledge of this evil coming. Hey, you step back into the hallway, and you can feel the evil's coming towards you. You don't hear it, but there's an evil coming down the hallway. What do? Hey, well, we're going to get ready, and we're going to put things up against the doors, and the players are getting their weapons and their magic ready and stuff, and it's a great descriptor. Now, active Detect Evil, your usual, I walk into the room, detect evil. Hey, I'm the paladin. I walk into the bar, I detect evil. And with this, I like to play shades of gray with this. Meaning that you have a paladin, walks into the bar. Let's say Ariana the Knight, I use as an example. Ariana walks into the seedy bar, and she tells me, I want to detect evil. And I go, well, mildly, nothing's directed at you. You just get a sense that the people in here are into highly illegal activities. These are things, you sense a great sense of selfishness and jealousy and deception. Okay, something vague, something non-focused on the character. Yes, they know it's a seedy place, but nothing to warrant being lawful stupid and just hacking things to death every time they go somewhere. What you can do with this detect evil is that maybe once the attention turns onto the character, that evil becomes a focus. That focus now becomes murderous. And you can use this as a sixth sense to describe things. Just as you use their sight and sound and their feeling and taste, you can use this other detect evil can be used as a method to describe the imminent danger that the character may be under, even if they're using it actively. This can also lead to giving away elements of your story, because a lot of us world builders, game masters and dungeon masters all over, we're world builders, and we have a lot of information stacked away in our games, and we want to impart that information to people, and we can get our feelings hurt when players don't investigate what we consider obviously important pieces of information. You go into the Ariana the Knight and her Dougal, her cutthroat friend, go into the door, and they see that there's in this old keep, there was an torture racks around the walls, and there's an altar in the middle of the floor, dried blood and a rusty knife or something. And the players to go, any treasure? Nope. Okay, I leave. As a game master, I'm going, this is the important, there's some information here. There's thousands of years of history that I wrote down on a piece of paper to hand to you, and you just walked away from it. So what I use those detect evils and detect spells as basically my way as a game master to please myself in the game and go, well, you use detect evil, and here's a flashback of the horrific elements that took place in this room. Is that part of the rules? Not really. Could it be another spell like augury or something? Yeah, sure. I don't give a damn. If I'm giving you some information, I'm building a story, I'm layering it. This is what you see. This is how you feel. These are the things that, the images that come across to you. Also, there's an element of using detect evil, like I said, with shades of gray, as especially by playing like a paladin or something where a character they previously encountered, maybe with evil tendencies, no longer has that tendency. Maybe an NPC they encountered that was good now has murderous intentions. Maybe the farmer's daughter was kidnapped. So now the farmer is just like, well, I'm dropping all my shit. I'm going to kill this guy. And it's not necessarily a matter of just revenge, but vengeance. This person is filled with such anger and hate that they're really to sacrifice anyone's life. And maybe the paladin or the cleric with detect evil now sees that these actions are turning these villagers into an evil, murderous mob. And they detect that if they don't do something now, these people are going to walk into imminent danger. And chances are not only are they going to give up their souls, but they'll also be killed. It's a way to motivate characters and players. And I never leave it black and white, ever. Of course, also, detect evil used on magic items. It can be used on persons, places, and things. And to make it very organic, maybe the player wakes up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat because midnight crowds swept through the neighborhood and they were staying in an inn. And it wakes the character up because they sensed this permeation of evil passing by. What the hell's going on? Maybe in the middle of the night, something evil's lurking in the dark, and it wakes the character up. They grab their sword and they go to look out, and it's they're dire wolves and a leader or something, and the orc leader runs off because they were a scout. Oh wow, there's some information I've just imparted. Can they chase after them? Sure, but not as fast. But now they know there's orcs, and there's orc riders, and maybe there's a scout that knows that they're coming. It's just all about giving players information and using Detect Evil and its other iterations in a fluid, organic manner where the intensity raises and lowers and moves around, just becomes just like a normal human being in their senses. At one point, a bowl of ice cream tastes really good, but if you just looked at all these villagers that were killed and murdered in their sleep, the taste of that ice cream might be pretty pale compared to what you've just seen, and now you don't have an appetite for it. And I think the detect spells themselves should be done the same way. Just give them some flavor and give them a life of their own. And as a side note, what I like to do, especially with clerical characters, paladins, clerics, and all their iterations, people that draw their power from the divine, a lot of my players trust me. I pick their spells out for them, or I'll give them a bonus spell, or I'll let them have another spell that they didn't have before, or I'll let them use a spell that they've already used up, as a method of giving them some divine intervention into their character. I'll give them an augury type spell, or push to them that you have this sacred flame spell or light spell or something like that, to give the player like, well, why would my divine patron grant me this ability? Well, I need it soon. Or you need to rescue the players that get their fat out of the fryer. Cleric used artist spell, wizards use all their spells, they're cornered, you don't want to kill all the player characters off. Boom, here's divine intervention. You now have sanctuary, you now have a cure spell, you now have this spell, your divinity granted this to you, and boom, you have it. It's a great way to get the story going, especially when it's hit a really good climax, or maybe they're at a point in the story where you really wanted to push ahead, but just the die rolls and just the luck just did not work in their favor. Boom, hey, I'm the game master, I'm your divine patron, bam, here's a spell, you got it. Yeah, could you punish them later on and say, well, hey, tomorrow you don't have that spell slot? Fine, whatever. You can make up any kind of excuse. But that's yet one more thing that you can add to a character to say, hey, here's a third level spell you don't have. You have now just granted this to save your fat out of the fryer. And by the way, you go, as a game master, you know what? Instead of a magic item, I'm going to give them that spell. They're probably going to get to the next level. Bam, that's their spell. Okay? So anyway, use Detect Evil organically. Use it to impart information. And try to give it shades of gray so that you don't have people acting lawful stupid. Oh, that frustrates the hell out of me. In your games. Thank you very much.